A curfew is set for San Diego and other purple tier counties. What that will look like and how it will be enforced.
Some churches are fighting to stay open during new restrictions. A local lawyer representing them is trying to revive a months-old case before the Supreme Court.
Plus, as restrictions get tighter, business owners fight to survive. Some question the governor's guidelines.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
Less than a week ago, tighter restrictions hit San Diego County as we moved into the state's purple tier. This weekend, another restriction will take effect. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Saturday night at 10, a limited overnight stay-at-home order will begin, and it will last for a month. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo joins us live with exactly what all this means. Laura.
Steve, it means that during those hours, the state doesn't want anyone out unless it is for essential reasons. They also want any private gathering to end by that 10 p.m. deadline. Now, this doesn't replace any existing guidelines like wearing a mask or social distancing. The state says that they want to try and stop the surge of cases that we are seeing right now. Earlier today, in a press conference, Dr. Galley said that this was necessary to avoid having to impose further restrictions. The things you can still do are things like getting groceries, ordering takeout, heading to work if you're essential, or walking your dog around your neighborhood. Now, county officials say their goal isn't to punish anyone, only to lower case counts.
No one wants to be punitive in any way, but the simple reality is our case counts are rising at an unprecedented rate. We went from a period of time where we were routinely having 200 to 300 cases to a time where now we have daily totals approaching 1,000 cases, one day exceeding 1,000.
Now, the difference between this stay-at-home order that goes in effect on Saturday and the stay-at-home order that we saw in March at the beginning of all of this is that specific time frame of 10 p.m. to 5 in the morning between this coming Saturday and December 21st. Reporting live, Laura Acevedo, ABC 10 News.
Laura, thank you. Our team coverage continues tonight with our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony PURA. He joins us live to go over how the curfew will be enforced, which will be a full-time job. Anthony.
Steve, I can tell you that several cease and desist notices have already been handed out to restaurants, gyms, and churches, just a wide gamut of businesses and venues, two of which were here in Hillcrest. Now, at a news conference this afternoon, the Sheriff Bill Gore talked a little bit about enforcement. He says his department will be devoting deputies to work with county compliance teams full time. It includes 4 two-man deputy teams working with law enforcement in cities and unincorporated areas throughout the county.
When they go out, they're going to try to get the voluntary compliance and educate the business owner or whatever the entity is we're dealing with. And when we don't get that compliance, when we can't mitigate the situation that we're dealing with, that's when deputy sheriffs are there to take enforcement action.
Now, Gore says the Sheriff's Department has already gotten the cooperation from several city police departments, and in areas where they have not, they say they can still issue these citations even without the help of local law enforcement there. We're reporting live tonight. Anthony PURA, ABC 10 News.
Anthony, thank you. It has been 9 days since San Diego's new daily COVID cases jumped above 600, and our 2-week rolling average for positive tests is now closing in on 5%. Today, the county reported 899 new cases. That brings our total to 68,140. There were also 7 new deaths reported. That total rises to 952.
While many houses of worship have moved outside or online, others are fighting to remain open. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains how a San Diego lawyer is defending churches by taking the battle to the U.S. Supreme Court for a second time.
As COVID-19 cases continue to rise across San Diego County, many houses of worship have moved services outside or online to be in compliance with the latest restrictions. But others say it infringes on their religious rights and they will stay open for indoor services.
The restrictions on houses of worship are arbitrary, but no matter what size the church is, Right now, they're closed indoors.
Paul Jonah is a lawyer representing religious leaders and churches in 3 separate legal battles in LA County, Kern County, and right here in San Diego County.
Churches are entitled to heightened protection. If you're going to restrict the fundamental right to exercise religion, which is protected under the First Amendment, you need a really, really good reason.
The local church, South Bay Pentecostal, has been here with Jonah before. They took the fight all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court a few months ago and lost in a 5-4 decision, but they're not backing down. Jonah says he submitted a petition to the Supreme Court Thursday calling for an emergency review of the case, which asks for houses of worship to be allowed to reopen inside.
And we also think that the dynamic has changed right now with Justice Barrett being confirmed for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Doctors, state, and county health officials have repeatedly said indoor gatherings are dangerous during this pandemic, as the coronavirus can easily spread inside. According to the county data, out of the more than 7,000 COVID-19 cases reported in the first 2 weeks of November, 168 possibly came from places of worship. Jonah says his client, Bishop Art Hodges, a pastor at the South Bay Church, is doing all he can to make sure worshipers are safe.
He requires people to get temperature checks. He requires, he's complying with the mask, the social distancing, everything, and ventilation systems.
Bishop Hodges tells me since reopening, he has seen 0 COVID-19 cases as a result of being in his church. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
And so far, the county has cited 2 churches refusing to close indoor operations.
San Diego's hospitals are joining a national call for people to wear face coverings. The nation's hospitals released this public service announcement as part of its initiative, Every Mask Up. It talks about the efforts and the sacrifices that healthcare workers have made during this pandemic and asks Americans to do one thing for them: wear a mask. Doctors around the world say face coverings are one of the single most effective tools for slowing the spread of COVID-19. Locally, Scripps, Sharp, UC San Diego Health, and Kaiser, they have all joined this campaign.
If everyone can do their own part of putting a mask on their face, it will contribute significantly to the pandemic and it'll help the country getting out of the quagmire that we're having right now.
And that PSA will run in major media outlets as well across digital platforms. And there have been several major developments in California this week because of coronavirus. You can get the very latest with the ABC 10 News app. You can find it for free in the App Store. Military prosecutors at Miramar argued today that a Navy medic should face additional charges in connection with the death of a fellow medic. Our ABC 10 News first broke this story of Michael De Leon's death at the 29 Palms Marine Base last year. The man accused in his death, Ryan Denny, is currently charged with dereliction of duty resulting in death. Prosecutors say he, along with De Leon and others, they were at a house party drinking and dry firing guns at the time. Tonight on ABC 10 News at 7, what De Leon's father had to say moments after today's hearing.
This afternoon, President Trump's attorney Rudy Giuliani made the case for the Trump campaign's legal challenge of the 2020 election, alleging a centralized plan of voter fraud around the country. The legal team went on to say that the lack of new evidence at the news conference is because today's remarks were merely an opening statement and that evidence would come out in court. So far, judges have not found enough credible evidence to show widespread voter fraud.